So I had a good friend. We were doing a Zoom meeting where some issues he was helping with a computer technical issue, and he, as a friend of mine, wanted to take issue with my position on student loans, and I'm all about that. That's great. Let's have a discussion. And he follows me on Facebook and he follows me on my YouTube channel, and he will be following me on my Odyssey channel because that's what he was helping me with. But he obviously and rightfully and respectfully was concerned about, cancel culture, and if people, he wanted to be able to speak his mind, but he was concerned about being seen. So I didn't have a problem with that. So what I did was basically cropped him out of the discussion on the recording, his image, but his voice is there. And I nicknamed him Paulie because he has this great Italian accent, and so I wanted that to be able to be published because it was a great conversation. I don't know if you agree, but I would like to hear in your comments. Make sure you like and share, and come find me on Odyssey, where I'll be setting up shop, hopefully, to be able to continue to freely speak our minds, and my mind specifically. But again, here's a discussion on student loans, and see if you agree, and if you don't, please, I'd like to hear from you. Thank you very much. This is Joseph Brothers signing off.
So, Joe, I got a question for you.
Yeah, on student loans, you said. Go ahead.
On student loans, I want to go back. I've seen some of your posts from day one.
Yes.
So before I ask you the question I want to ask you, I want to lay some groundwork.
Sure.
I agree with you on the philosophy, the premise that the banks, what they did back in 2012, 8, was wrong. They did what they did. They should pay these loans, etc.
Right.
I also agree that the loans themselves to students are predatory in nature, that they're taking advantage of these 18-year-old kids who don't know what the hell they're doing, who can't pay. I get that. I understand that. I understand that the schools themselves that are getting these loans are getting rich off of this shit, and they're teaching bullshit and, degrees and horse grooming, and they got to pay $100,000 for that.
Right.
I get all of that. I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
I also agree with the premise that student loan forgiveness, in theory, should be by those banks, should be by the predatory lenders that gave them out in the first place.
The Jews.
My problem is, though, the reality. The reality is the banks aren't going to pay them back. The colleges ain't going to eat that cost. I'm going to eat that cost. Me, the taxpayer, is going to have to pay back those loans. And while I feel sorry for that 18-year-old kid who took that loan because it was wrong the way it was presented to them, it still sticks in my craw that I am now on the hook to pay it back. Sure. I paid back my loans, and I don't have, so it's kind of like, well, I understand the argument, and I don't disagree in any way with your argument in any way. I still come back to the reality. The reality is, leaving all principle, all philosophy aside, the reality is I'm going to pay back their loan.
Okay.
And that's where I've got a problem.
Okay. Should I respond now, or?
So respond.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure, because I do have a habit of interrupting people, and it gets me in a lot of trouble.
No, I got you, Joe.
Okay. A couple things. Thank you for agreeing with everything. In 2008, Ron Paul ran. I voted for him twice. He should have won. It was the original stolen election before Trump. That was where the Republicans should have seen, or the country should have seen, that vote or elections are bullshit when Ron Paul lost, because he was crushing it. He was crushing it. Everybody knew our problem was economic. Okay.
Yep.
The amount of money that the Treasury was stolen from by the Jewish bankers in the Federal Reserve and globally could have paid off every mortgage in the country. You were talking about you would like to pay off your mortgage. If they really wanted to save America, forget the banks are too big to fail. All they would have had to done is pay off all our mortgages, and our engine of America, our economy would have blown up. So you and I agree on that. We would have been safe. We would have been fine. The banks would have took a haircut, which is what E. Michael Jones always advocated for. He says the banks should have took the haircut in 2008. But that's not the reality. This is your argument. So the reality is, Joe, you're living in a utopia of, the banks aren't in control and they don't own all our senators and our things. Now, you and I are both Catholics, right? We're both Catholics. We both understand that there's also a bigger picture involved here, right? Now,
Yeah.
Fair notice, I have 3 children who are living under these student loans. So I watch their suffering. My one has a mechanical engineering degree from a triple star gold university for mechanical engineering, globally accepted. Has a great job in the medical field, medical industrial engineering field. Okay? He's struggling like crazy just to pay the loan. He can't get a house. He can't get... I know, and you sympathize with all this. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm just showing you that I have a personal vested interest in it.
It's not just philosophy for you. You're
right.
in it.
I'm in it, and it hurts.
You got a dog in this fight.
Right. Okay. So we'll go to the part where now you have to pay. Right now, we are sending how many billions to Ukraine to fight Russia?
Agreed? Wrong.
Right?
Yeah.
My point is, for the fee that it would cost you, me, and everything in our taxes, the economic benefit, now hear me out on this.
I'm listening.
The economic benefit of freeing up even the libtard kids who are under these loans. But remember, there's also kids like mine who have a mechanical engineering degree. There are doctors. There are people who can.
Yeah, it's not just people that got,
the Republicans to suck bank always try to put this in the frame of, it's the gender studies student who's going to take your money. They're going to take your money to continue gender studies and dye their hair purple. It's not just them. There's also mechanical engineers. There's
doctors, teachers,
people who build economies, farmers. All right? These are people that. Now, you and I don't believe in the republic, but we do believe that the government should actually encourage taxes to be given back to people to build the economy. So taxes should be drawn to help people. So my position is that of all the investments that we waste our tax monies on, okay, all of them we waste, Ukraine, gender bullshit, whatever, salaries for these Washington, of all the things that a taxpayer will get benefit from, paying off student loans, and this is E. Michael Jones's point, will increase our economy because these kids will be free to buy houses, to get married, to stop paying the Jew bankers. And now let's talk about the loans themselves. I know you know they're predatory loans, but I don't think you understand how bad these loans really are. Here in the discussion, I actually forgot to finish a point I was making that's very important to this discussion, is that you don't just get a student loan for the student's career in college. Every semester, they make you get a new student loan. You have to go through the entire process all over again. The credit referrals, the co-signers, whatever you need. Now remember, so you make, and at different interest rates or in different terms. So now you look at it as from the student's point of view. You've just spent a year busting your ass if you were a good student, right? Trying to get this degree. And now you have to borrow the money to continue. Are you going to say, you know what, I don't like your banking terms anymore. I think they're, a little onerous. I would like to not get the bank loan. And they say, yeah, that's fine. Don't get the bank loan. Who cares? Oh, guess what? Oh, your college career's over. It's blackmail. It's literally extortion. They're basically saying, if you want to continue, you're going to have to continue to get this loan. Oh, and now the terms are a little more onerous. So the interest rates is a little higher. And now instead of a fixed rate, we're going to give you a floating rate. And we're going to write a completely different student loan. So that means that these students, and I've seen this in my own mailbox, can get several statements for the same damn bank loan. And these banks, for instance, Discover Student Loan, refuse to consolidate these loans into one single, more manageable loan. You get separate loans with separate interest rates and separate terms. So you'll get 6 or 7 envelopes sometimes at the, showing your loan terms. So these loans are literally immoral, demonic contracts. That's the point I tried to make. I got started making and I didn't finish to make. So I insert this little commentary. Forgive me. Okay, so let me explain it this way. You don't just get one loan to go to college.
No, you got to do it every semester.
Like you did. Well, you know this, but
I know.
And so
I'm an educator. I know how that works.
Right. Well, some of the people maybe who get to watch this may
not. Okay.
May not. So the point is that this loan is, and I didn't realize this either when I agreed into this bullshit. Oh, guess what? There's people called co-signers. All right. Let me remind you of them.
Yep.
Which is me.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to go to another point there. But so in that box of all the investments you're going to waste tax dollars on, freeing up young people who are in their prime from this debt will help your economy beyond the pain of your tax burden. See, what the Jews have done, as they always do, they turn it into an emotional issue where the poor waitress is paying the tax for the lazy son of a bitch gender studies student. That's not the frame. The frame is, what is the economic cost of having over, or not that many, I'm trying to come up with a figure, millions of kids enslaved to the Jew bankers.
Okay, but
what is the cost to you in your economy overall?
Let me interject one thing about myself there.
Okay.
I am not talking about the waitress for somebody that's doing gender studies. I am even talking about the
I meant the factory worker they're framing. No, stop. You misunderstand. I can see right now. This is why I interrupt. What I'm saying is, the argument against what I'm saying is they keep framing it that the good, honest working carpenter has to pay off the loser gender study guy.
But I'm not making that argument.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I even understand the hard work, not just the carpenter with the gender study, the carpenter with the mechanical engineer.
No, you're still not hearing me. I think the wine's kicking your head. Not the carpenter with gender studies. They're framing it that the carpenter, who never went to college, who just works like an honest man and builds things, is paying for the asshole gender study. That's the only frame they're allowing out into the media.
No, I agree with that. I 100%. But my argument is I'm not going along with that framework.
Okay.
I'm not arguing about.
Well, you said me. I gotta pay. Why do I gotta pay? Why did Paul? Yo, Paulie. Why does Paulie gotta pay? Yo, buddy. Why do I gotta pay? What the fuck is this fun bull?
I'm not talking about the gender studies college kid. Screw him.
Okay.
Let's take your son, a mechanical engineer, doctor, physician, NASA engineer who's going into space.
Right.
Okay. We're talking about those guys, not just the gender studies, whatever.
Right.
Even those guys having to pay their loans, not the gender study, although that's another issue.
Right.
All of them, be they gender studies, be they mechanical engineer, be they doctor, how does it come back on my tax money to pay? Now, what I hear you saying is that screw the gender studies guy, that if I help pay back the tax burden of paying back the student loan for the doctor, for the engineer, that will overall help our economy, help the United States better than if my tax money is going to pay for a war in Ukraine that is just to launder money for the
Biden crime family.
Yeah, okay, right. Agreed. But so I'm totally against my tax money going there too, because that's wrong. That's that's even more.
All right, well, let's go back. May I interject? So we're going to go back to what is the reality. The reality is you're going to pay the taxes either way.
You're right.
So you should steer the taxes toward the ones that at least help Americans, even if they are stupid young kids who shouldn't have took the loans, but they did. At least they're Americans. At least they're... Go ahead.
There might be a two-phase thing here, where in philosophy it's all wrong, but in in reality, helping the kids is better than helping Ukraine. But both can still be philosophically wrong.
Yes. What did we talk about earlier? It's the same. It's the
my tax money should go not to any of them. Take their loans and pay them. We shouldn't be paying Ukraine, and let me keep my money.
We'll talk about utopia.
Okay, it is utopia, but okay. So here's a further argument. Okay. What about the message? What about the message? I'm taking a little deeper here because I want to probe this.
I know where you're going. Go ahead.
What about the message that it's now the government's responsibility to pay your freaking bills, and isn't that one more step towards the socialist communist society that our current government is trying to build? And this is just one more step towards that.
I can answer to that. I have thought of that. So here's the answer to that. First off, you've already totally generalized it again. You have to get it more specific. Go ahead, say the statement again, because I kind of like...
That the idea that government...
Oh, it gives a strong, bad message, right? That's your point, that the government is bailing out these kids and it's the government paying. Now, let's talk about... We have to be more specific when we're talking student loan forgiveness. Again, they've broadened it to mean complete forgiveness for all loans. My kids' Discover student loans will not be forgiven.
And that's not true. It's 10,000 or 20. It's not total forgiveness.
No, but listen, let me get back to the point. So the point is that it's only, asshole Biden's only talking about the federal parts of these loans that my kids took. They got federal money that you already paid the taxes on. All right? You already got raped, and this money went into the government, and they gave them out as Pell loans and government loans. So they're technically not even bank loans, okay? They're taxpayer loans to begin with.
To begin with.
Right, which were wrong to begin with. We both agree. The principle shouldn't have never happened. I agree. Right. But it did happen, and to your earlier point that I'm living in the utopia, and that's not reality. Well, now you're going into the utopia. The reality is that the federal government already took taxes and already took this money from you and gave it to these kids, right?
Okay.
So to forgive it is really to them. Now they will come to us because that's what Jews do. But to them, it's just a. This is why I got to go to Odyssey, okay? So to them, it's just doesn't cost them a dime. It didn't cost the colleges a dime. It didn't cost the banks a dime. Nobody paid except these poor students. Now I'm going to ask you a question. What is the collateral besides their co-signers, which is me, for these students, if they got a co-signer, which most of them do because they don't have any credit? What is the collateral for my mechanical engineering student? He doesn't have a house like a mortgage. These aren't mortgages. These aren't car loans. That's a whole different beast, which is actually sort of a legitimate loan. These are loans based on what? What is the collateral for my child that he put up? What did he put up for its collateral?
Beyond the cosigner?
Yeah, in fact, my house isn't involved even. I'm kind of on the same hook. So what is the collateral?
Well, the only thing I can go back to is when I did it, and I'm going back a few freaking years.
I don't think you can go to your version of this. I think they changed the law significantly since
I did it. Okay.
Yeah, but okay.
I will have to admit that I don't know how to answer that question.
I'll tell you, I have an answer.
Beyond you paying it back for them, I don't know.
The collateral is the souls. They literally sold themselves into bondage to the student loan. They sold themselves. They can't get houses. They can't get married. They can't, do the things that you and I did when we were young. Go get factory jobs and, date women and lay down money on a mortgage. They can't do any of that because their soul is in bondage to these loans.
Okay.
Now, in
Let
our
me just-
Christianity, we are to let loose the captives. If a man comes and asks you for something, you give him your coat too. It's painful to us.
Okay. So let me go there.
There will be pain for us, but I still think it's worth it.
Let's say, you've opened my eyes up a little bit. I kind of understand that. I see that. And then maybe as Catholics, it's our responsibility to free them, especially since they're so freaking corrupt to begin with and everything else. And that with paying Ukraine and all this other crap doesn't matter. Okay.
Well, they lost their
see
moral legitimacy to say.
The moral legitimacy. I see that. So then let me take it more personal.
In 2008, the same thing. They lost the
Let me
moral
take it more personal for you.
Okay.
I had legitimate questions about your take on the whole thing, and you have opened my eyes a little bit here in your answer. You really have. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. But what I see is you calling everybody a cuckold.
Wait a minute! Calm down, calm down. I call everybody.
No,
I don't play that game.
Okay,
I don't play that
everybody.
game. I know who I called cuckold and who I didn't.
But there are people who have disagreed with you, okay?
Right.
And maybe they have.
And I called them cuck. I know what you're talking about. I call them cuckolds for the bags.
Yeah, you call them cuck. And they may have. They're not just disagreeing with you to be asses. They're not just disagreeing with you because hey, they took out a loan, let them pay it. They're not.
Right.
Maybe they have legitimate, deep felt, looking inside kind of concerns like I have that I want answered.
I think they're legitimate, but they're all based on ignorance. That's the point.
Okay, but wait a minute. Shouldn't it be you as a Catholic, if they're ignorant, to try to open their eyes the way you have done with me, as opposed to...
Of course.
As
Of course.
As opposed to cuckold.
But wait a minute. Let's be fair.
Come on, Joe.
No, wait a minute. Paulie, hold on, Paulie. I gotta explain, Paulie. No, Paulie. Give me a break, Paulie. Let me explain.
All right, go.
Context, brother. On Facebook, what do you get? You get like this much script.
I know.
All right? I have to get to the point. All right?
It takes time.
Well, no, by the time you write all that out, they've already responded with 4 or 5 ignorant bullshit.
I know.
All right, you know that.
Part of this is just...
So now, if we could all talk like we're doing here, which is another E. Michael Jones point, not to give him so much gist tonight, but on this subject, I am in contact with him to do an interview on student loans, and I will get you a copy of that. The context is that we need logos. We need to educate people and stop. We're in the problem is the Jews want to divide us. The Republican Jews and the Democrat Jews, all the Marxist Jews, the bankers, they want to divide us. So they give us these great, easy, fucking framework for the conversation, which I explained earlier. The framework is, do you know that this good carpenter and plumber who never had to take a student loan is paying off this gender studies faggot for his fucking student loan? Of course that's going to piss you off. But that's not the reality of what we're talking about. There are student loans for people, again, engineers, doctors, not factory workers, but people who might build factories, people who would create jobs, business
studies.
Right, business degrees of people who want to are really excited and want to go out and open a donut shop, but they can't because they have to work at McDonald's 4 extra hours a night to pay the 9.5% floating loan that the government allowed them against all the laws of predatory lending to lend these stupid kids.
At 18 years old.
Right, and I equate it to heroin. Did you see that one that I made that argument?
I did not.
Okay, let's talk about heroin. If you had a heroin dealer come into who doesn't do heroin himself, he's clean and pure.
Right.
Slipping little bits of heroin to your kids with lies saying, oh, it won't hurt you, it's fun, just do a little, it'll make you feel good. You would want that guy gone, right?
Right.
But the kid, unfortunately, got addicted to the heroin. He got caught in it. He did it, and he was stupid. Should have never done heroin, you stupid.
But now he's addicted.
Now he's addicted. Should we continue to pay the heroin dealer his cut?
You're
So
making good points, Joe.
I know I do. I know, but I can't do it on Facebook. I need video.
That's why I brought this up with you in the first place, is because I've been following you all along, and part of me's been like, one of these days.
I think something's going to happen. People are going to go. They want to see the Paulie and Joe show.
Maybe so. But I've been watching for the last 2 months, and I'm like, one of these days I got to have it out with Joe, because what I'm seeing, we got to have a conversation here, okay? Because I see the quick pro quo comments of you and others, and it's like, Joe, if you want to get a message out, Colin McCuckle ain't gonna do it. Okay?
It does it for me, pal. I'm okay.